Well, one small European country, Albania, that is not in the EU but is a member of NATO, has agreed to provide temporary shelter for Afghans heading to the United States. The first group is expected to arrive in the coming days. As many as 3,000 could eventually be housed. Albania's Prime Minister Edi Rama told me why his country had offered to accept them.
Because it's about who we are. Albania was the only country in Europe that had more Jews after the war than before the war. And the reason was that we have in Albania a code of honor that tells everyone that the biggest shame in life is to give up your guest. So the Jews here were sheltered, and it's one of our most beautiful pages in history. Secondly, we were Afghans few decades ago when we escaped from Albania, the fortress of the North Korea of Europe under a very brutal dictatorship, and we knocked at the doors of others, and we were welcomed, of course with many difficulties, but basically we were welcomed. And thirdly, because I think we need to do it also for our children. Our children have to understand that this is the world we live in, and we may not be rich, but we cannot afford to have a short memory.
As you say, you're not a rich country. You might have to shelter these people for some time. Is that going to create much of a burden for Albania in practical terms?
To not forget one thing, that in the Western Europe, people have forgot the wars. The wars are just documentaries in Netflix. For us, the wars were here, and we have seen wars. We have seen terrors of war, and we have had to shelter in Albania not long ago. At that time I was Minister of Culture when we sheltered 500,000 refugees from Kosovo escaping ethnic cleansing, and we survived. We are here. So we are not a rich country, but we are here. So financially, morally, everything, I don't think we were harmed. I think we got richer morally from that experience.
There has been a pretty intense debate in Parliament here in Westminster about where the UK stands and what should happen, and why it, like other countries, failed to foresee how quickly the Taliban would take over. And questions have been raised as well about NATO itself, with the United States essentially deciding to go it alone, other countries like the UK who had troops out there feeling that they had no choice but also to pull out. Do you think that this has called into question NATO's purpose in any way?
I find ludicrous, frankly, that the blame on US is being used to turn the back to the Afghans that need us now. Once we save these people. Second, we can debate whatever we want about NATO, about invading, about not invading, and so on. Of course, the withdrawal was a unilateral decision of the US, but we are all in this together.
But isn't that the point, that some have asked whether we are all in this together if America withdraws in that unilateral fashion?
Yes, it's true. You're right. But now this is not a reason to turn the back to these people. I mean, to the people that need shelter. In the NATO summit, I have discussed it. And I've said, I know, because we lived in a regime that was like the Taliban. We need to think about the day after for the people that work for us, because they'll be labeled as traitors and they'll be treated as traitors. And treated as traitors in that kind of regime means death.
Just a very final thought then on these refugees. The UK has announced it's going to accept 20,000 over the next few years, 5,000 initially. But there will be some European countries that may decide they are not willing to accept refugees. You've made the case for why, the moral case for your country deciding to do what you've done. What would your message be to European allies who are sceptical, who are unsure about accepting refugees from Afghanistan at the moment?
I don't know what does it mean 20,000 people in many years, because we need to be there for them who worked with us. And they are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. And to be there today, not in many years. But they can close, they can do whatever they want.